Okay, sorry about that. I'm ready now. Everyone's leveled up, done their things. We're good.
Yep, my health edition is horrible.
You rolled 2.
Yes.
Ouch.
I mean, hey, I've rolled a 10 before. I think, it's fair that I rolled a 2. I'm not too upset about it. I rolled a 10 once.
And how much health do you have? Because it's still leaving me at the squishiest one.
I got 54 now.
Oh.
Man, Aelin, you better hope that they're fighting bunnies later.
What'd he roll?
I have
I mean,
36.
you can just stand behind. You can just stand behind me, and I'll just have my armor, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just duck from out behind me, take a shot, go back.
Yeah, because I have, or Bezak, I have a total of 36 health right now. Total, max health.
Cool.
Something hits me, I'm dead, but they've got to hit me first. I have a 21 on reflex defense.
Oh, I don't have to hit you, so don't shoot me in the face.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to pick up, because that is in the fortune, the fortune tree was Labyrinthian Mind, and that bolsters my mental defenses too.
Good. Still not going to help you with my main power.
We shall see.
Wrong stat.
That's what it does, is it protects the mind against force attacks. So.
Alright. So, you have 2 prisoners now. You're making sweeps throughout the ship. Those of you that want to look for like bombs and such or other targets, go ahead and make general perception rolls. I really wish this system had an investigation, but that's what we got.
Yeah, you could realistically just gather information into that. It'd make sense.
That's true. Probably should just roll it up into 1. I just feel like perception is just not for investigation. It just seems like it's silly that they're not this different, but
I could see perception bolstering investigation, but
yeah. Okay. It takes you a little bit longer than you expected. You're just wanting to be very, very thorough. And Takaya helps with this too a little bit. And then when she gets to the bridge, she sees that the gambler's injured. She decides to stay with him for the rest of the search. You don't find any more assassins, except for a few of you who find dead assassins here and there in places that you didn't know that they had been fought. But eventually, you manage to sweep fairly securely, you feel, the entire ship. You are all now in the bridge. You've brought your prisoners and tied them up, and they're sitting in like the passenger seat. The one that Takaya knocked out, he's still long out of it. The other one, now finally being down, he's still quite angry, but you can tell he's kind of wore himself out, screaming and yelling and trying to get away. But you are all now together, and you have the 2 of them at your mercy.
rotating like a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, I would like to note that Shailu probably doesn't help with the sweeping of the ship, because after the reactor goes back to normal, he sort of like stares at the council and then slowly just like falls onto his back and stares at the ceiling while laying on the ground, taking a lot of deep breaths.
Picasso's probably still there rotating.
Shiloh?
person.
Shiloh? Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah, I think so. Just give me a moment.
So after a few moments and after sweeping of the ship, you are all now together in the bridge. Those of you that have just arrived, you can now see that Dakaya is now in the co-pilot seat, and she is doing most of the piloting. You can now see that the gambler, he actually has a pretty significant wound, kind of in his upper shoulder, pretty close to his heart. He seems to be, for those of you that are sensitive, he seems to be in some kind of trance. You can kind of feel that he is pulling on the force pretty heavily. But
Kaz is in that all the time. He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah. He's still responsive, and to those who ask questions and stuff, he still answers and talks, but for the most part, he's trying to recover. All right, so what are y'all doing?
I'm still rotating the guy in the air.
Aelin is kind of looking at the guy who's rotating, and
Quiet, then I'll probably stop.
yeah, Aelin will kind of motion for Kaz to put him down. Well there, laddie. You and your friend here are caught. Now, you either tell us what we want to know, or we can make things very difficult for you.
Shouldn't we split up the prisoners first?
One's unconscious, the other one's not.
But yeah. As the prisoner continues to rotate in the air.
You know, if you keep doing that, he's probably gonna have to make a constitution save to not get nausea.
I mean, at this point, he probably already has to make one.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic here. Unless he's calmed down enough to where I'm not spinning him anymore. That's
He's
Zariana.
pretty calm. He's worn himself out, screaming and yelling.
No, he's just dizzy.
You may want to put him down, as he is wearing a mask, and so any queasiness may not end well, but that is up to you.
Well, before I put him down, shouldn't we bind him or something like that? Kaz looks around.
I assumed he was bound.
By who?
I don't know.
In the course of the minutes, you lowered him enough that someone bound him up. Probably either Ajak or Dakaya.
Okie dokie.
Well, what are y'all doing?
Aelin is going to question the awake prisoner.
Okay. He is still wearing a mask. But as you approach him, you can see that his head lifts up, and where his goggles are stare at you.
Aelin will take the mask off.
You see, he tries to resist in the beginning, but you know, being all bound and tied and worn up, it's pretty much useless, and you take it off. It reveals to be a pale, bald-headed human man. You can clearly see with his veins on his face are clearly visible, and they go all over his pale head. His eyes have a veiny purple to them, and his lips are quite purple as well. He almost looks like, especially you, Ayla, since you've never really seen this before, he almost looks like it almost is like he's almost drowned in very, very cold water, and it's a very unsettling look.
Aelin will just look him in the eyes and kneel down, kind of so that they're eye to eye. Are you going to be helpful, or is this going to be one of those difficult situations where the airlock or something else may end up being used? We can always put you in a nice little spin cycle if you'd like to go back there.
Are we all present for this? Where?
Because rubs his
Yeah,
hands
you're all
together,
together.
visibly.
Yeah, Aelin looks over his shoulder and pretty much lets everybody know that this is an interrogation. If you don't want to see this, you might step away.
Does anyone need medical attention?
And then I will walk out of the room.
I'll kind of look between Shiloh leaving and the scene with the prisoner, back and forth, trying to decide what to do.
I mean,
While
yes, but
While you're deciding, Dakaya looks over her shoulder. Remai needs your help. Take him with you. And Remai tries to protest. She quickly dismisses it and helps him up and kind of pushes him towards you, Shialu.
Okay. I will sort of grab him by the arm and start dragging him out of the room.
By the injured one or the not injured one?
The non-injured one.
He grunts, but he goes with you without much protest.
And then as I walk out of the room, I sort of turn back and stare at everyone, trying not to frown, and then I walk out.
Alright. Dakaya returns back to the co-pilot seat, and she
I
gives no
probably-
attention to the rest.
I probably reluctantly follow, worried about what's going to happen without me watching.
hey, Fakaz, did you find anything useful on these guys? I kind of just did a quick search of mine.
Because his eyes light up and he says, "Oh yes," and he pulls out the stealth field generator and he starts explaining how it works as he's been looking at it.
I should probably go around, gather up, see if the other people had, the infiltrators had those as well. I'm gonna assume that's a yes, but well, I'll go see if I can find anything else useful. I'll pile the gear up.
Because nods.
And first, Ajax will check the two people that are still on the bridge. And kind of remove dangerous items and stuff like that.
Yep, and you, with Pakaz's help and telling you where he found all the items in the other, you find everything that he did, pulling off the mask from the other one. You also find the stealth field generators on each of their belts, their weapons. Everything that Pakaz found, you find also.
Do they each have basically the same equipment?
Exact same.
Yeah, so he's gonna take the gear and kind of start making a pile like in the bunk room. I bet all the other people as well.
Okay. So, with Ajax leaving, then that will leave Dakaya, Ayland, Bakaz, and the 2 prisoners in the bridge. The awake prisoner, he's breathing heavily, but not because he's haggard or tired. You can tell it's just anger at the situation as he just stares at you.
Because he's just whistling away merrily.
You can be angry all you want, but we're gonna have a nice little talk. Alright? First off, what was your mission into getting onto the ship? What were you trying to do? We'll start off with something easy anyways.
He just glares at you.
Because motions like he's about to make him lift up and start to spin again.
Doesn't seem to care. He just continues to stare like venom out of his eyes.
Lad, I want you to know right off the bat, you hurt some of my friends. Matter of fact, if every single one of you are guilty of hurting and trying to hurt my friends, let's put it this way. I'm here and I'm going to torture you until you give us the information I want, or else we see about putting you through a spin cycle. And I don't necessarily mean the airlock. I don't necessarily mean anything that you think you can withstand because you're a Sith. I'm talking about the things that'll take care of you because you're human.
This body is but a shell of power.
And at that, Aelin will take out a metal spoon from the kitchen and just dump the guy on the forehead.
While this is going on, Prakaz goes over to Dakaya and says, "You think you're any good at interrogation? I can pilot."
To Dakaya,
Yes.
she, well, let me deal with the Sith first. Upon thumping him, there's a reaction, but it's not fear or anger. It's complete shock as he just jumps up and looks at you with the most, it's strange because he goes from venom and hatred to just complete inquisitively and bizarre look, like you just said something, like almost like you have like cockroaches coming out of your ear, just like the strangest thing that he'd ever expect from you. And he just stares at you like this for a couple of seconds before getting back into his angry stance at you. When you mentioned to Dakaya, she slowly sits back from the console and she looks to you, and then she looks to Ayland and the prisoner. Well, of course I have my own methods, but not exactly anything that I think your party would approve of.
And who cares what they approve of? If it works, it works.
That's where Aelin kind of looks over and says, "They're not here for a reason."
Very well. It's mostly on autopilot anyway. She pushes back and she slowly rises. And she steps behind you, Ayland. And she just kind of stares at him for a little while. Just continue for now. Let me watch.
And Aelin will look at him, look at the prisoner again, and just say, "Answer my question."
Why? Giving you any information would be worse than death.
And at that, I swat him in the forehead again in the exact same spot.
There's the same look of just bizarre confusion, but it doesn't last quite as long as he just starts getting angry now.
Listen, lad, this is just the beginning. If you keep it up, I'm gonna start taking off things that you might not want to be taken off. Now, what was your mission? You're obviously here to stop us, but what?
He grunts more, but you can see he's starting to look at Takaya and you, and there's a twitch of nervousness in his eyes, but he continues to grunt and snarl and appear as tough as possible.
And I thwack him upside the forehead again, same spot. Listen, lad, she has a light whip on her. I wouldn't exactly be toying with me. There are ways you can use energy blades that can do some really bad things to you. Oh, and did I mention that we do have a couple of people here who are capable of healing? Which means I can make this go on for quite a while.
Do it. Continue with this paltry torture. It's through pain that I gain power.
And I smack him upside the forehead with the spoon again. Same exact spot.
He gives you a similar response, and this time, however, though, you hear a sigh come from Takaya. Well, I think we've had enough of this, don't you?
Go ahead.
She leans down and she just places her hand on his chest and she gives him one last chance. And she looks at him and says, "Tell us what we want, or I will cause more pain than you've ever experienced in your entire life." And he looks at her, but you can tell that he doesn't believe her and he continues to be stoic. And at that, she just closes her eyes. For a moment, nothing happens. And then she removes her hand, and you see, tied up with his hands behind his back, he starts spasming and jumping and having a heart. You can tell his breathing has become much more difficult, and he's gasping for air. And it reminds you of the same thing that happened to Ajak when you fought Takaya. And she just pulls back and she watches him for probably 15, 30 seconds go by, and she's just staring at him as he's coughing up and trying to breathe. So while this is going on, Kalani, where were you all headed off to?
I was belatedly following Shiloh for healing. Though there was a bit of hesitation because I had a bad feeling that something like this was going to happen.
Yeah, that's why I hinted as much as I could that light side users should probably leave. This might be a little dark.
All right. Shayalu, Kalani, and Ramai, you all go to the sort of makeshift med center that was made out of one of the closets. It's not very big, but it's got a bed and it's got some cabinets and stuff. Shiloh, you quickly are able to find most of the materials that you need. You help Ramai sit down on one of the beds, and you help him pull off most of his jacket. And it takes a bit. As you're pulling off layers, you realize he's got quite a bit of armor underneath, and whatever happened, it went through most of that. As you take off, you can see that he's got a pretty nasty wound, and it goes straight through his shoulder, barely misses his heart, and is blackened from about the top of his heart all the way over his shoulder, and then through to the other side. It's and you can tell with the force it is healing, but it's pretty nasty.
What kind of weapon does it look like caused the injury?
Some kind of blaster.
Oh, okay.
As you pull it off, he just kind of grunts. I'm getting slow, and he should have never been able to sneak up on me.
Yeah, this doesn't look so good. But I should be able to patch it up.
I'd appreciate it.
They managed to sneak up on all of us.
Sith assassins. That's what they're trained for.
How did they even get on the ship?
Or how did they know to get on the ship?
Yeah, that too.
Believe me, I'd like to know. I'd like to believe that it's just a fluke, that they got some sort of information and they just happen to be there, but my gut tells me some sort of traitor is in our midst. Not here on the ship, but, back home.
Well, on a planet of Sith, I wouldn't really be surprised at that.
No, but, you never think it's one of the guys you vet, one of your people. How about the rest of you? You guys don't look so good either. At least you two don't.
Yes, these opponents fought with much fury and dark side rage.
Yeah. Well, of all the Sith, they're the ones who value their lives the least. It seems kind of counterintuitive, being a Sith, self-preservation's kind of at the forefront. But these people, most of who they are is ripped from them, and all that they're left of is pure vessels of hatred and dark side.
Book of Horror?
He kind of just ignores your look and just gives you a sort of shrug of this is commonplace. Unfortunately, some people will do anything for power. About probably 10, 12 minutes into patching each other up and going through, Shialu, you feel a great source of pain coming from the bridge. And it's You can tell who it's from, but it's equally similar to when Ajax was attacked when you first went to Kaya. But you can feel that whatever's happening in that bridge, your prisoner is in a great deal of pain right now.
Would you two excuse me, please?
I will start walking back to the bridge.
The gambler just nods, and after you've bandaged him up, he kind of slowly rests himself on the bed that he's sitting on. And he looks at you, Kalani. Well, kid, you feeling any better? You need some help? I'm not bad with a needle or med pack.
Well, what, have I been healed any? I'm confused.
Shiloh, if you want to make some heal checks before you go, because it's been like 10, 12 minutes, so you've had some time to patch him up.
Okay.
And I would have been helping out as much as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, I would have asked her if she wanted to help me patch up the gambler.
Buddy system.
And then probably when Kalani, when you were helping me, you could notice that Shiloh's actions were sort of like a little bit more stiff than you have seen before. And I need to find my treat injury. So how many rolls should I make here?
2.
You look like you could use some healing yourself there.
Yes, I could.
So it should be 11 with your +5, right? Then his level.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So,
Okay, so then should I roll for Kalani too?
Sure. But you don't get the advantage because she can't really help you. So, Kalani, you should get 11 hits.
Uh, 12?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, 12.
Then I guess I will try to treat myself as well. With Kalani's help.
Ah, saved it up for yourself, huh? All right. So it's after you're done patching yourself up that you start making your way up back to the bridge.
So was I using the med packs that I had with me, or were we using supplies that were on board the ship?
You managed to find some med packs in the cabinets.
Okay. Okay, so then I walk towards the bridge.
All right. It's at this point, Kalani, that he's talking to you about helping you out.
Yeah, I'm a bit lost again now. Just jumping around in the timeline here.
He lies back on the bed and he closes his red eyes for a minute and then realizes you're still there. And kid, are you still hurt? Do you need help? I might be able to help with some of it.
I got pretty battered up. The med pack helped, but
Well, here, come over here. Let me see what I can do. I only got one arm, but I might be able to help.
okay.
Right, you get 14 extra hit points as the gambler. He doesn't use a med pack, but he uses some other supplies from the medical center, and he, with your help with the putting some things together, as he only has use of one of his arms right now, he does manage to actually help you with some of your injury. Again, it's not a super amount, but it does help.
What was the number again?
14.
14.
He smiles as he goes back onto the bed, and he just kind of rests his head there, rests his arm there, and he's like, well, this is just the beginning, kid. Better get some rest before we get going.
Yeah. Thanks, though. That helped.
He nods. Yeah. Of course. All right. Ajak, you have gone around gathering up materials and going through all of their bodies. You go back to the one you killed. You find all of the same gear on him. You find two bodies in the engine room. One seems to be just sort of shredded and, you can barely tell that it was an assassin. You can kind of guess that probably wasn't Ayland who did this, but there's really nothing left for you to gather from him. However, in the body that Ayland took on, you find most everything. except the goggles have been smashed and are no longer useful. You go back and loot the body in front of your bunk. He has also has all of his gear on him still. You go and take on go back to the reactor room. The assassin that attacked Shialu, that he threw up against the wall. He has most of his things, except his goggles are cracked and his shield generator is completely destroyed. It's just, you can see it was just smashed up against the wall with the rest of him. And then the final two in the cargo bay are also, one of their shield generators still works, the other one has been smashed. And both their sets of goggles have been completely shattered.
Alright, yeah, I'll just make a pile of all that stuff, kind of organize it. And then I'm gonna recharge my blaster pack and and go to sleep because I need to sleep off getting shot in the chest.
Probably a good idea.
The Mendo goes to sleep off, getting shot in the chest.
Oh, I'm also
whereas...
gonna check before I do that, I'm gonna check the power sources on the cloaking generators.
Okay. Most of them seem functional and could be used.
So I'm not like in need of replacing of energy packs or anything.
No.
Alright, then I'll charge my blaster, my power pack and my blaster. And, well, first I'll take that one out, replace it with a new one, and then I'll recharge that one. And I'll leave the blaster, like, next to me on my bed.
Good call. Alright. Shialu, you walk onto the bridge. You come to a scene where one of the prisoners is still unconscious. Shialu is now piloting.
Wait.
Elon...
I'm piloting.
Because is still piloting. And Aeland is still sitting in front of the prisoner, who is now spasming uncontrollably, and Takaya and Takaya standing behind Aeland, and the two of them are just kind of staring at him for the moment.
What is going on in here?
Alan doesn't even look over his shoulder. He just, lad, you need to leave. It's better for you this way.
I think Takaya needs to stop.
Not just yet. He's not ready.
Has he crossed the threshold of the entrance to the cockpit?
Yeah, he's inside.
Was that just a random request for information, or were you going to say
That was a
something else?
random request for information.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I might have made a decision based on where you were, but that's moot now.
Okay.
What is the point of this?
Hear Prakaz pipe up information.
Do you really think that torturing him beyond imagining is going to yield anything useful at this point?
Possibly we have no clue why they were sent here or who sent them. Who sent them might be very important. It might be unrelated to what we're currently doing. We don't know.
Well, there are other ways to get information besides torture.
Might you suggest some that would work on him?
Well, I'm sure we could try to probe his mind with the Force.
Do you know how to do that?
No.
It's at this point that the prisoner is lurching now, and he's inches away from not even being able to breathe anymore. And just before he coughs out his last, Dekaya once again touches him and touches him for a moment and brings her hand back. And you see his eyes go wide and a breath comes to him. I think he should be ready to speak now, Aelin.
Thank you, lass. Aelin looks at the prisoner. Now, are you going to answer my questions?
Yes. Just don't let that witch touch me again.
Well, thank you for at least cooperating. Now, start off from the top. Who sent you?
The Academy. The Academy sent us.
And other than to stop us, what was your mission? To destroy the ship? To do what?
Kill the gambler. By any means necessary.
Alright, who wants the gambler dead?
Are you kidding? Everyone in the Academy. He gives hope. He makes life difficult for us when we're trying to bring the population to glory. And he keeps interfering with that.
I don't care too much about your philosophy, but, so you are here to stop the gambler? Alright, in that case, what else do you know? What do you know of us in particular?
I know you came here a couple of days ago looking for information. You passed through Dredge Day. We followed your trail. We were about a day behind you. We knew her. We knew she was a friend. She would lead us to him.
Wait. Did you see what happened in the cube?
What cube? You mean his play device? As I said, we were a day behind.
That lasted a week.
We didn't have orders. About you, we didn't care.
Because he's really insistent now. Excuse me. Did you see anything? I don't care what your orders were. Did you see anything?
Doesn't matter now, does it? We couldn't care less about what was being peddled. We only cared about the gambler. We couldn't get to him in his place, in his house, but we could wait on his ship.
Because turns to Dekaya, can you assure me that they will not? Can you give me any way to wipe their memories? Do you know how to do this?
I can ensure that he will tell no one.
Kaz gives a knowing nod.
Alright then, lad. One more question, at least for now. Darn it, and the question just went whee!
All the way home.
I answered your questions. You have to at least help me. It's hard to breathe. The guy looks at you. Do you have any more questions for him?
Just a couple more, and Aelin will look down. How many of you were sent to the ship?
There were... There were 10 of us.
Alright. Your mission was to kill the gambler. What would you have done had your mission was a success?
We would have killed the rest of you, taken the ship home. If that wasn't possible, we'd have blown it up. And no one would have ever known what happened to him.
Last question. Did you send any transmissions after you got on board? Or at least after the ship took off? Let's start with there.
No. We don't carry communication devices. No way for you to trace us home.
Okay, I think that seems like enough. Why don't you help me get into the med bay, Ayland?
I've got it. She lifts him up slowly. And then, before turning him around, she looks at him in the eye and says, "You tried to kill him, and you nearly did. I can't forgive that." She takes out her lightsaber and stabs him through the heart right there in front of the rest of you, and then lets him fall. She looks at the other one. "You can treat him."
So there's no chance for a reaction or anything before she does it?
Nope, she just does it without warning.
Aelin will turn and just kind of walk out. If you look closely, you might see something.
Make a perception roll if you'd like, Shiloh.
Yeah, I don't think he's looking at Alon. So, I'm gonna just
That doesn't work.
He reaches out his arm towards Takaya, and then just sort of stands there, and then storms out of the room.
Well, I was trying and failing to snap his neck of the last guy. But, yeah.
You want to reach out and snap the unconscious guy's neck?
Yep. The roll's already done. Look at the roll, though. That's not happening.
Well... But the intent is still there.
Yep.
So, with that, Shiloh, before you leave, you do feel Pakaz try and kill the other one.
Okay, I stop in the doorframe and turn around and stare at Pakaz.
What do you think you're doing?
This one needs to die.